This comment, I believe this is from Frank, says, I had a friend with a backhoe install a 500-gallon concrete tank 45 years ago. I live alone and don't let any grease get in the tank, nor water from my clothes washer. I originally put 3 packages of Fleischmann's yeast in the tank about 10 years ago. So he originally put yeast in it, and then about 10 years ago, I looked in the tank and there was a floating crust about 1/2 inch thick, and I dragged my bar along the bottom and it felt like there was about 4 or 5 inches of sediment. Added yeast again, opened the tank recently and the crust and sediment was gone. There was only black water that was almost clear. Added more yeast, never had to pump the tank. Okay, so I think you're kind of trying to make the point that maybe septic tanks don't need to be cleaned regularly. What I can say and what I'll share is we've had 1 or 2 customers over the last, let's see, 23, 24 years that may be kind of in a similar situation that you're describing here. Now obviously we've had thousands of customers during that time frame, so there is certainly a possibility that your lifestyle, your usage of the system could allow you to go long periods, decades even, without pumping the tank, and everything keeps functioning fine. And that's great for that very, very small percentage. You're able to get away without having to clean your tank. The reasons for that, well, you described several of them. You're doing great job of limiting the amount of water that's coming into the system. That limiting of the water isn't necessarily going to have a lot to do with the limited amount of solids that are in the tank, but it is definitely going to have a great impact on the longevity of the drain field itself. No matter how you use your system or how many people are using the system, the more that you can limit the amount of water that's being used, especially all at once, will allow the drain field plenty of rest periods between usage and prevents the drain field from becoming, getting into a flooded state where it's holding water. There's too much water coming in, faster than it can drain through the drain field into the ground. So the more you can limit and avoid having the drain field get flooded, the better and more efficient bacteria growth you'll have in the drain field, which is going to allow that drain field to have a much longer lifespan. I think you did mention that you lived alone, so just one person on the tank. You don't allow any grease into the tank, which of course is absolutely helpful in limiting the amount of solids that are in the tank and the lifespan of the drain field. And the yeast, I don't really personally think that that's actually done anything positive or negative for you. The bacteria in the tank, it occurs naturally. Our body, when we use the system, is always adding bacteria to it, and the bacteria that's in the tank, it multiplies and it feeds off of its food source, those solids that are coming into the tank, and so it breaks down those solids. So what my opinion on this is that it's a biological thing we have going on. Of course, the biggest thing is that it's getting very little use. There's very little solids coming into the tank in general. It's getting very little water use. But then on top of that, I think that some individuals, whether it's because of diet or just genetics, their waste breaks down in a different way than most other users are going to see. So I think just what you've got is the perfect storm, which is working perfectly for you. But you have the perfect storm of all of these variables that we look at in how to most efficiently use your septic system to get as much life out of it as possible. You've got everything lined up perfectly, along with possibly your genetics or your personal makeup that is allowing the system to work in such an efficient way. But again, like I said, we've come across such a few cases that are like this, although we have seen it maybe a handful of times. It's the vast minority of households are going to run into this situation. Way over 99% of users are going to experience issues. You're going to have an overload of solids in the tank, which is going to cause backup in the house. And if the tank is going, overdue between cleanings often throughout the course of the life of the system, that life of the system is going to be drastically shorter than it should be. So more of an anecdotal case, but certainly a case that we have come across. So congratulations to you for having as efficient a septic system as there can be, and but I certainly want to make it known that it is very much the exception and not the norm at all. So, but thank you for sharing that. I think that is something that is interesting to talk about, because there is the question of, well, I've never pumped my tank and I've never had a problem. That conversation does exist, and it is it's something that it's not a myth. There are cases where it is true, but it's certainly not something I would perpetuate to most households. It would certainly be misleading to them to let them know that they could possibly go 45 years without pumping their septic tank.